Hi, it's Dr. Kat. I want to tell you what happened to me as it relates to limbic system resistance, protection, and getting into true self-alignment. One of the things that I teach in my mentorship is that often one of our biggest sources of nervous system dysregulation is old protective strategies that want to keep us from crossing rules that we made a long time ago to not show our true self and to not get rejected. And one of the things I see when I start working with people and they start doing the work to get into their true self-alignment is that sometimes they'll have symptoms and nervous system issues spike. They'll have what's known as limbic resistance to change. Now in my mentorship, I explain a little bit more about this, but I had an experience today that perfectly describes this. Even I, after all this time, can have a limbic resistance because I'm always expanding. I'm always getting more and more in touch with my true nature, and because of the history of trauma and limbic system impairment, I can have an activation if I expand in a big way. And that's what happened today. So what happened was I wanted to show my true self, my silly self, my fun self, and I made a fun video on Instagram in a way that I've never done before, where I was just singing and dancing and being silly because I just felt inspired and I wanted to show my sassy side, and I did it. And then about an hour later, I started to notice that, okay, now I'm going to talk about some symptoms. So if you're sensitive and you don't want to hear about symptoms, don't listen to the rest of the video. But if you can handle it, there's a great lesson here. So about an hour later, I started to feel pressure in the back of my head and almost like a gripping in my spine and brainstem. And because I have a lot of experience with limbic system, polyvagal regulation, different brain states, I knew what was happening. I'm like, I just crossed an old rule I have, and my brainstem, my protection mechanisms are saying, what are you doing? We don't do that. We have a rule. And for some people, if you have a lot of limbic system cross-wiring, you can have a symptom response. Or if you do something that's really big and outside of your comfort zone, and that was really what the case was for me. I don't typically get limbic related spikes anymore unless I do something that's kind of big and new. So I was getting all this pressure in my brain and kind of feeling like, all right, I just did something that a part of me said, what are you doing? And I know the strategy. So what I did was I just went inside my body, got quiet. Okay, I'm here with the symptom. What's the message here? And I started to feel a very young part of me, that I could feel the desire to cry and shake. And it was a young part of me that said, I don't want them to make fun of me. I don't want them to not like my dancing and my silliness, because that happened before. And I could feel like, oh, I just exposed a youthful part of me that has a memory from the past that thinks it's dangerous to show my childlike free spirit in such a public way. And it was a very deep part of me, and it caused quite a grip in my head. It was uncomfortable. But I know how to be with discomfort, and I also know how to talk to aspects of me that are afraid and feel them. So what I did was I spent some time getting inside my body and somatically feeling the message of this part and hearing it fully. Okay, you're afraid of rejection. You're afraid that that was being outrageous in a bad way. And I could feel an old rule, or which I call a superego rule, that said you just need to show your professional side and not your true self to this community, because that's unprofessional. It's unprofessional. So part of having a doctoral degree in the medical field is that I've taught to be professional and not my true self all the time with my clients. So again, I crossed that rule and I could feel that. And so I just sat with my body and felt the little one in me, that the part of me that felt like a little girl that was embarrassed or wasn't sure, and the uncertainty, just felt her. And then I, with my adult main personality, my certain self, I said, you know what? Being my true self is always a good thing. Even in a professional setting, this is always a good thing. And I had fun. It's what I want to be. It's how I want to express. And I want to bring more of this into my work, and it's okay. And I know that a part of me is uncertain about that kind of exposure and silliness and kind of taking that leap in with my work. That's okay. That part of me is going to get used to it, and it's going to realize it's fun, and Maybe some people will reject it and say, oh, that's unprofessional. But as long as I'm happy, that's all that matters. So I just sat with it, and it really took about an hour to move through it. That's it. Whereas before in my journey, if I would have done something like that like a few years ago, it could have caused a spike that would have lasted days, maybe weeks, when I stepped into a type of true self-alignment and went and did something that was outside of the box, because the limbic system was so overprotective. It's true that limbic system dysfunction, you guys, in a lot of cases is there because it's trying to keep you out of your true self. And that's why I teach that so much in my work. I mean, we're sitting here trying to fix our body and all these diagnoses, but really we just got to come inside of ourselves, and it can be a little bit rocky. So the point is that I worked through the resistance. I got in the body, I heard the story, and with my certainty I said, I don't regret doing that. It's what I want to do, and I'm going to do more of it. So you guys will probably see more of me being outrageous because that's who I am. And so I just wanted to give you that real life example that even I can go through a little bit of a polyvagal response of going a little dorsal vagal because of the vulnerability hangover. And then the decision of like, no, it's all right. This is me. It's safe to be me. I'm all grown up now. It doesn't matter if I get rejected because I had fun doing it. So anyway, that was my lesson for today. And I hope that encourages you all to go for your true nature, even with the limbic resistance, because in the end, it's worth it.